Hello and welcome to the LNUR Line podcast for Lego Trains. This is episode 17, and we're going to talk about some of the recent progress that our members have been making on Lego Railroad related models. First up, we have some Lego news for you, and our first topic is a competition for Lego Railway Builders that Will is going to cover.
Yes, so over on Lego Rail on Facebook, we've already done one run of it. We are running a monthly competition to build to a certain, build what we asked for, basically. The first one we ran last month was build a piece of rolling stock with a mechanical feature, and the winner was a rather impressive Royal Mail coach, which, did it drop or pick up a mail? I think it dropped a mail, but no, it picked up a mailbag. Which was very cool. We will be announcing the next month's one shortly, and going forward, we plan to set a specific task for each month of the year, which will be the same every year, giving you guys a little bit more time to prepare and give us some lovely, wonderful models.
All right, thank you, Will. So hopefully we'll get some more involved there. We didn't have a huge take-up on that, but it was quite short notice, and the models that were into were pretty good, especially a certain springy giraffe.
That was terrible and made everybody else feel bad.
That was a nice opening door as well. That was good.
Oh, yeah. Next up is Trace, and the Americans are back displaying, and there was a nice LGMS, which is the modular standard for Lego Railways they're creating. So it was a nice LGMS layout over there, and our token American's going to talk about that for us.
Only seems fitting. It's really nice to actually see events start happening again and seeing what everyone was doing in quarantine. The LGMS layout is a multi-table layout that took place, or they set up at Brick Fair, Virginia this past weekend. And they've got a lot of really cool stuff they put on display. They were able to really demonstrate the Katy couplers that BMR released during the pandemic. They also set some of their own personal records by doing their longest train that they had. They also had their SD45 diesel that won Best Diesel from the layout at Brick Fair, Virginia. And if you take a look at their Facebook page, they've got a lot of running videos, just kind of showcasing their stock and everything that was there. There's a really nice loop that's done by their Père Marquette, the Polar Express train, for those in layman's terms. So definitely worth checking out. It's good to see what everyone was up to. And again, just to reiterate, it was nice to have examples of what everyone else was able to build while everything was falling apart in the world.
It was it was quite an impressive layout and quite an interesting track plan they had as well. A
lot of switches, a lot of crossovers, and a lot of opportunity for them to do shunting displays as well, which was cool to look at.
That's very true. They need an APT like Jamie. Corners, definitely. Thanks, Trace. Okay, our final bit of news is just a little bit mostly for members, but you're welcome to join us as a member and maybe come next year if we run it. We're running LNUR Fest, which is a weekend just for our members to run trains. So hopefully we'll have another podcast coming out from that in September, and lots more photos of layouts and event layouts and locos and rolling stock. And hopefully we'll get to see some of the conflats and also the open wagons, which haven't really been to shows in big rakes yet, as far as I remember. I don't think they have, because we designed them last year.
Not actually been to a single show yet.
No, we designed them last year, possibly because of COVID. So there we go.
You said there's going to be another podcast coming out from there. Are you going to do a live in-person recording by any chance?
Yeah, we'll try something like that. We'll have to bring the duct tape to gag Miller before. It's only fair.
That's fine. I'll just get my puppet to talk for me.
You can always invite the brothers Brick to us without knowing anything about the
It's the Gronk puppet. It's a Gronk in a puppet form.
What?
Yeah, he's clearly gone a bit mad in lockdown there.
It was already there, man.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Okay, so we can move on to Lego trains on Lego Ideas, and for a bit of a change, we're going to have Luke and Miller do a couple of them. So Luke's got 3, and then Miller has 2 to take us through.
Yep, I shall start us off. There were a few that looked good, and having to narrow down to 3 was a bit of a tricky decision. So the first one I found is called Vintage Train Station. It's a bit more of a small diorama set. Something that looks like that sat on a 48 by 48 base plate. The station itself looks rather nice, and it has some red masonry bricks. I can't tell if that's standard red, as if that's going to be a new color, as this was going to be made into a set, or if that's the existing dark red. The locomotive included is of a German design. It's kind of obvious from the silhouette and the shape, but seeing it in a combination of greens does make it stand out. I'll make sure some pictures do come through with the editing of this podcast, but for what this is, it's a nice, small, individual setup sort of thing, and it actually looks really nice. However, the motor they've got going on in the tender of this locomotive seems to be a 9-volt battery, which is interesting because if this was going to be turned into a Lego official idea set, there's no way this would come back. But knowing that there are new 9-volt compatible pieces coming out from other companies, that could potentially be its own thing if this doesn't pick up from Lego. So moving on to the next one, it's called London Underground Train. Sorry, just to apologize, I need to go back. The first one, Vintage Train Station, was made by a user, HP_Brickster. Moving on to the London Underground Train Station, this one made by user Jarv Bricks. This one is, I suppose, your kind of standard London Underground station setup. It's nothing too special. I mean, it's the sort of London Underground mock setup that you've probably seen before. It does have a lot of gold ingot pieces using for the walls, which I think I saw member Lewis use for his idea, which looks really cool. And seeing it in this arrangement, especially how he's been able to capture a bit of a curvature to one of the walls, was really nice. The actual train itself looks a bit short, but even then you instantly recognize it as a London Underground train. You could definitely use this as its own individual display, and I love, again, the colors, the overall shape. You can definitely get a few more of these and put it together into one super long display. That'd be a very interesting thing. So, and the third and final one that I picked out is W&ARR number 3, The General. This is by a user by Kylo Ren. Now this, I feel like I'm seeing more of these appear on Facebook, the Lego Rail group, and just a few other places. The General seems to be picking up in popularity, which I think is quite interesting because from what I understand, it's an American locomotive, of course, but the overall shape seems to be one of the more recognizable ones for its era. I'm not too big into my train lore, so I can't quite pinpoint the exact reason as to why this is a popular or go-to American locomotive, but looking at this, there is a lot of care and attention to detail put into this model. It's basically the Disney train with everything it should have, as if it was made by a custom model train fan. And it basically, well, is that. There's a lot of golden bricks in particular, which I think looks very interesting. If this was going to be made into a set, there's a load of 3x3 dish pieces, a few bars, and a few, like a, not a gun, but like a water nozzle piece. I can't remember what the official name for it is, but there's a lot more gold and detail bricks. Even a skeleton foot. I've only just realized that. Oh, but that really does bring the whole thing out, and that would look absolutely spectacular to see in person. So just to go through these one more time, one thing I failed to do again, I do apologize. The first one, Vintage Train Station, currently has 3,618 supporters with 57 days left. The second one, London Underground Train, has 336 supporters with 414 days left. The last one, the General, has 702 supporters with 399 days left. Some interesting models. I, for one, seriously doubt train sets will ever become idea sets, but even then, it's worth a try. Give these a push. I would love to see any of these 3 become official sets. They look absolutely spectacular.
Thanks, Luke. Mr. Miller.
What?
Lego ideas, please.
Yeah. The first one is the Intercity High Speed Train Rail Connect 100. It uses the airplane front ends, which is unusual. It's white and blue. It's got 224 days left. It's got 279 supporters. Go give them a support click.
Yeah, we'll add the links into the podcast description as well eventually.
It's by
Wow.
Mayavchik, I assume. That's how you say it. Yeah. The other one is a Thomas the Train Brickheadz. I like it just for the name.
Oh God, I hate it already.
It's the best Steam build I've ever seen.
It's every bit as bad as you think it is.
It's the scale.
Looks it. Yeah.
I'm not saying which scale, but it's to scale. It looks like Tom the engine. It's blue, I assume. It's got a little white face, black eyes. And when you look into its eyes, it steals your soul.
That's a good model to end on.
Who wouldn't want to support that?
It's by 2, as in the number 2, toucan, like a toucan. It's got 249 supporters, and it's got 78 days left. So this is going to win. You can feel it in your bones.
Yeah, I'm sure that's a definite winner. And
do you ever struggle with the fact that you're often wrong?
I'm having a stroke.
Yeah, on that note, I think we can move on to the proper topic for the podcast, which is what our members have been building as mocks. So what have we been building in the run-up to shows starting again here in the UK? I think a couple of members are off to shows soon. So there's Hull Brickfest. There's another one at the London. Andrew might know this.
Something depot.
Yes. So at the time of recording, next weekend is the Acton Depot Brick Show, which is at the London Transport Museum's place in London.
Yeah, I'm hoping to get to that on the Sunday, I think, by the time I've got there.
Mm-hmm.
And there's lots of other shows coming up. So there's Discovery is coming up next year, but there's a Sheldon Brick Show November the 20th, 21st in the UK at Locomotion Museum in County Durham, in the Northeast. It's a quite big one for us as a club because a lot of our members are up there. How are shows in the Netherlands, Renzo? Have you got a bit of an idea about how they're going? Have they started again? I've not seen many Dutch shows come up actually.
No, I don't. I'm not aware of, but I'm only a member of the LNUR at the moment, and I don't have any clue of what the Dutch are organizing at the moment.
You should definitely organize.
And we had a little COVID backdrop 2 weeks ago, so every festival and everything had to be shut down again. So there's probably for the end of the year something planned, but I'll look it up for another podcast.
Yep. Cheers. So for the Netherlands, I think there is the Lowlands Model Train Club who we're swapping a wagon with this year, hopefully, because last year the Danish got ours. Okay, so we can move on to some members and start talking to them. So I'm just going to go around my screen. We're going to start with Luke, who's turned his camera off really helpfully.
Turned it off. What?
Yes.
It's still on my end.
I can see him.
It's not on at my end. Good old Zoom.
Oh, there's 2 Luke Bradleys. That's why.
There are 2. Oh, there are 2.
I've got the actual thing going on my phone in order to use the camera, and apologies for that.
So which one do you want spotlighting?
The one with the video?
That would probably be preferable, yeah.
Ideally, yeah.
No, do the other one.
Just as long as you can see me. That's
so
fine.
Tell us a little bit about what you've been building in the last 3 to 4 months, and we'll have a couple of more questions about that. Open it up to some comments and maybe some critique, almost certainly critique from LNUR members, and then we can move on to the next member.
Yeah, okay. So in the past few months, I really haven't been that busy. I have been building stuff, of course, but I've kind of been slowing down, which is a bit of a weird thing to say because I've been building Lego trains, but I don't know how long. And I'm at this sort of point where I've got everything I want. I'm satisfied. Every now and then I'm going to be building something new. But again, this is more of at this sort of slower point where I'll look at something online and go, well, that's a good idea. Past few months, something that I've built is my, I suppose, famously known online Streamlined Coronation. It's something that is very dear to my heart. It's one of my favorite builds. It's something that I have given an overhaul recently. It's not too much of an overhaul on the locomotive itself. It's just bigger wheels, a bit of a tidy up on the tender, just a little bit longer, but overall the shape looks so much better. And the coaches that go with it as well, they got an entire rebuild. Previously I had 5, and in order to kind of save myself from making bricklayed quarters, I had to go with making only 4. But even then, the window shapes, they're all there. The lining is so much more detailed where you look at it and you recognize it as the actual coronation coach that it should be in comparison to how it was last time. It's not night and day, but it's a massive step up. There is a thing I can show you if you are going to be spotlighting me for this podcast. So another thing I have been doing, if I quickly try and work on brighter background, apologies if you can't see this. It should be better, there we go. So I've been making a lot of Thomas characters as well. I know a lot of people talk about, well, maybe not a lot of people, but every now and then you will see someone on Lego Rail or on someone's YouTube channel, or maybe someone on Flickr. Can you make this one? Can you make this one? How about this Thomas character? Because every now and then that does get brought up. So a few months ago, I thought, you know what, let's go ahead and actually commit to making some more. I made Thomas some point last year. I committed with making the original 5, and more Thomas characters are starting to be made. And I'm currently at the point where I am working on Oliver. I am quite satisfied with how this turned out. It's a bit bigger than I would want. At this point, it is the sort of thing where, okay, I'm going to be making Oliver and Duck, and I only started working on this today. And this is a locomotive in particular, the 1400 from Great Western Railway, is something I've thought about making for years, which is a bit daft because, I know I can make it. How about this? I want to build this instead. So eventually I've got around to making this locomotive, and quite oddly, it is just Thomas' character. I think that's ultimately a good thing because I reckon a lot of people recognize this locomotive more with the face on it and, you know, in this design than they would to a standard 1400. Of course, as I just mentioned, Duck is my next model to make as well, just because these are 2 locomotives I've seen popping up more so on my Discord server. But even then, it's just nice to finally get around and making those 2. The 5700 that Duck is based on is something I've seen loads of iterations of online. So I'm now at the point where I'm ready to go, right, it's my turn to build this shape and size of locomotive. I might have to bite the bullet because I have a bit of a stupid rule when it comes to building tank engines compared to my tender engines. My tender engines are 7 wide, and I try to kind of keep my tank engines 6 wide, which is a bit of a silly thing to say, but I don't know why. It's just something I've kept to for the longest time. So that Oliver build is 6 wide, but I'm likely going to have to bite the bullet with Duck, seeing how other people have built him to be 7 wide. So that's what I've got coming up in terms of actual models. There is another thing I've got planned for my layout, and I had a bit of a back and forth in the LNUR group chat to kind of spark ideas. So one thing works, and another thing can technically work, but it's going to lead to more things, which I think is, I shouldn't do it, but I can't not do it if it works. So one thing I mentioned was the corner modules that I've got. It's just thinking about, because I've got these points that I've modified in a sense where you know how a normal switch point kind of goes in that position where it would go into a siding more naturally, I suppose. I've modified one that goes in each direction to go into a sort of full of a natural curvature. I wanted to incorporate them somehow, and I suppose I could put them on the layer, but it's where do I put them? I could put one here. If I put one there, you know, how's it all going to work? There is an idea I've had. The dodgy one is to have one of the 2 on the outside running line and kind of just go off in a completely different direction to the main running. If I do that, I can add some more to the layout, but the thing is my layout is already big enough as it is. So yeah, even if I do go ahead and commit to making that, I can't touch that for over a month because of other things I've got committed to, and obviously some shows that are coming up. So it's a nice idea, but I don't think I really want to even think about touching it. If I've got a period of time where there's absolutely nothing else going on, I might scare myself and go, okay, let's ruin the layout by making it bigger. But yeah, that's pretty much everything. It's not really too exciting. I haven't been too active, but that's near enough everything I've got going on at the moment.
Great. Thank you, Luke.
It's good to see that full rake of coaches to go with your coronation class. It's really nice. Yeah, not often you see people sort of build the locomotive and then commit to having the trains go with it. So definitely props to you for that.
Yeah, the coaches in
That's
particular.
very
I'm not
true,
someone who really I'm not someone who really makes rolling stock. The rolling stock I have normally comes from sets. I've made some custom stuff, but those coronation coaches are the only things I've made where I've gone all in and said, yes, let's make these properly. There's nothing else I've really got that is on that level.
It's a good
Glad
staple
people
for
like
your
them.
railway. I think if you had to pick a headliner, you really banked on something with a lot of show quality.
We'll find out in Bristol. Hopefully at the gallery
Indeed.
show in August. I may bring some conflats, and that's about my only contribution, except my excellent.
Yeah, bring something.
personality.
It'd be nice if you wanted to bring a model or two to run on the layout. Yeah, obviously
Yeah,
you got
well, the things I have handy at the moment are the conflats that I've been building, and that's about it. Okay, so are there any interesting building techniques in those models you've discussed, or is it all fairly standard, just parts on top of parts?
If I grab all of for the sake of having something to talk about, because it is somewhat standard. I don't really develop my building techniques. I've seen some techniques online and I go, okay, if I can easily replicate that, I'll go for that. And I think weirdly, it's one of the more complicated that I've been able to develop is the cheese slope boiler design, where it's like this, but even then it's not perfect sort of curvature, especially along the bottom. The most complicated thing I think I've done is with the coronation and how to achieve that streamlined front. Even then, that's not original because I saw British Bricks coronation. I thought, okay, one day I need to build that. And there was a bit of playing around, going back and forth. And that was at the point where I thought, okay, using jumpers to get this sort of shape, I'm never going to be able to use that design again. And even then, that's probably the most complicated I've ever really built something at because it's such an interesting shape. I know how I build my trains. I know how I like to build my trains. It's again a bit cheap and easy. One thing to hold this back up again. This is the standard train wheel that you get with so many Lego sets. It's something I have so many of, and Trace, for example, has built one of these, but this sort of section alone is way more detailed than how I've built it on my one. But at the same time, I don't really care for making mine any more complicated than that because personally, I feel like I don't need to. So I know I have the potential to build more detailed brick-built designs, but if it exists in that sort of form, I'll just stick with that.
Okay, I'm curious on that 14XX, Luke, is the wheels. I don't know how they are in person, but on camera they're kind of coming across as a kind of lime green color. So are they custom painted?
This is a bit of heresy. So I did this with my Edward and Henry models, where I couldn't be bothered to make any orders for Big Ben bricks, at least for the drive wheels. And this wheel is also something I've used for a lot of my other Thomas characters. It's a thing for the sake of consistency. So, okay, you recognize that these designs all kind of use this wheel. So I thought, okay, let's just try and stick to that. And in order for me to kind of get some colored wheels, so obviously you're never going to see these in green or in blue. So I'm going to have to, again, commit a bit of heresy, and I spray painted them. Again, to me, it's not bad because I've been building trains for I don't know how many years, and I've got loads of these wheels I'm never going to use for anything else. So I can live with the fact that I'm going to be spray painting these in a different color. It's a shame I couldn't find anything closer to the Lego green that I've already got for these wheels, but it's another satisfaction thing where, for me, again, lazy as it seems, it's good enough, it works, that'll do for me.
Okay, thanks, Luke. So we can probably open it up to more members and a bit of discussion about the models and their techniques. I quite like the on the cab, the door section is sort of moved in a little bit. Yeah, it's quite a.
How many times have I lifted up this model now? This is like the fifth time.
Just hold it there for us. Entertain us.
The cab is moved in a bit.
Yeah, so the door is a little indented. which is quite
Yeah,
a nice.
there are a few things I've been able to develop. It's knowing, can I pull, oh, I can't pull that brick out because it's kind of too stuck in there. I don't know how well you could see that because it's too dark. No, you won't be able to. But you know those 1x1 bricks where it's got a stud on one side? So that's moved in by one stud. And I've also got a tile with a plate on it. So when you go to put it up against the wall, that sits in there, but it's not flush. There are those L-shaped bricks where it has studs on the side. And if you put one of those with two tiles on it, that does equate to the same width as one brick. So it's knowing things like that where I can develop techniques like this, and knowing that it's just slightly inwards, you can recognize it as the sort of cab door. And again, as weird as it sounds, it's an interesting detail, but it's probably one of the more complicated techniques I've developed, or at least learned. Still quite happy with how this turned out, given the overall kind of shape. And again, with all the techniques I've developed over the years, it's not a culmination of my greatest techniques, but it's a happy model. If anything, it's a happy model.
Yeah, using so-called snot techniques like bricks modified or brackets to manipulate bricks around. You can get things like those half plate offsets. So definitely a good technique to use to get some nice effects on the model.
Yeah, definitely so. Okay, final question for Luke then is, what are you building next?
So next after that will be my duck model, which is going to be my next Thomas character. Eventually, I do want to build an LNUR A4, but I specifically wanted that to be Spencer. The thing is, an A4, at least for me, is really difficult to build in Lego because it's such an interesting shape. I've built an A4 in the past, obviously that would be a mallard, but I'm a bit too scared, it's a bit too intimidating. I've seen a few people make the design without the valances. They've been able to curve some of the bricks above the wheels, which is really cool and clever. So I'm going to see how they go on. There's a guy, I can't remember what his name is. I've seen it on Facebook, so I kind of know who the person is. But I've seen pictures of him developing an A4, so I'm going to look at how he makes his British bricks. Of course, he's making one. I want to see how his turns out. So I'm going to try and do what I do normally is I'm going to see how he made this section. Okay, can I reverse engineer it? Can I figure out how he made this? Okay, so if I can do that enough and be satisfied with the kind of overall techniques being used in some of those other models, I might give it a go myself. And I suppose an A4 is kind of the end goal for a locomotive because it's a nice thing to look at in real life, but in Lego, god damn, it's difficult.
Yeah, very hard. I've seen a lot of interpretations of it. Lewis has one, which is really nice. And Isaac has one.
Yeah, Isaac's one is very popular.
I'm sure there are a couple of other builders who I'm probably forgetting who built one over the years. Okay, thanks, Luke. So we'll move on to our next member. And I'm going to pick on Will just because he has his camera on. I'd rather look at some locomotives in his face. So what have you been
get both in the shot?
What have you been building recently then?
So do you want to full screen me?
I guess I could.
Well, you should.
As lovely as Luke is to look at.
So I haven't really built a great deal, but I've done a lot of finishing touches. First one has to be, of course, Humorous has finally been 100% completed with her nameplates, builder's plates, and various transfers.
Very nice.
She's even been given, as you can see, her very own carry section because
Really
she's not
nice.
getting wrapped in bubble wrap anymore.
It looks so different from the original model.
I mean,
without lining.
You've got that photograph with her with the 6 wide and the 7 wide A3s with full lining, and she looks so forlorn compared to those two.
It's
So,
unrecognizable.
yeah, now she'll look about right. So that was finished about a fortnight ago, and will never be worked on again. He said, hopefully.
No, you will. There's always some faffing. So is that the only thing you've been working on?
Well, basically, I'd say finishing. So a lot of stuff that I'd already built but didn't have the wheels or the rods for, such as British Bricks wonderful USA tank, which I built in the Worth Valley livery, which is one that I didn't show off in Block Junction because I wanted it all for myself. I really liked how it had the American style Well, it's supposed to be chrome, but I ain't made of money. But the American style grey front and grey roof. So
it's really nice, and it's quite a satisfying shape on the tank as well. There,
Definitely.
it is.
Yeah.
When he sent it to me, my first thought was, who wants this? And then my second thought is everyone, because it's really cool.
I'm waiting my free one in some sort of dark green livery.
I know I've bought the instructions and I've been playing around with it.
Then, of course, again, the hall now has finally got its rods, and I was very happy with it already, but it's astonishing what difference the rods gives to it. As much as anything else, it's a much freer runner now. The only thing I did any significant work on, it's fallen apart, was sorry, loose cable alert. The powered and unpowered versions of my Southern parcel van, complete with their unique corridor design, which I suspect I will be torturing myself with on other builds in the future.
It's not the easiest thing to replicate in studio, is it?
Oh my God. Literal cancer is the word I use, and I stand by it.
That's why I don't build digitally.
I wouldn't want to even attempt doing flex tube in studio at the moment.
I would not have done it digitally were it not for the fact that I needed to do it digitally to sell the instructions.
It's a lovely
Other than that,
anyway.
I've not really had any new ideas in a while. It's just been one of those sort of, everybody gets them. It's like creatively poor periods, but luckily I always have a million projects to finish, so I've just been finishing stuff recently. and then I suppose the project I'm working on at this very moment is the Playout 3.0. There we are with the R56 and R72 tracks beginning to get ballasted. These again, I had to test build them in the brick before I could build it in studio, because good luck doing it the other way around with custom tracks and all the interferences and everything. I don't know if I'll be able to show you, but there you go. There is one end of the railway waiting to be rendered.
It's going to be lovely to see trains running around that.
I can't wait. Mostly I can't wait because I desperately want to build a new railway, but I can't start one railway until I finally finish the railway I've been working on for the last 3 years.
Just follow the Carter rules of building and just start building something, get bored, and build the next thing. It's the easiest way to do it.
I like finishing things. I mean, sometimes it takes me a while.
Oh, so
Yeah,
that's
it
what
takes
you're
you
bringing the
many
complex of
years.
Bristol.
Hello.
Ah.
But point is, that was mechanically finished a long time ago.
Very nice. Okay. So any interesting building techniques you haven't already highlighted in that one? Or any of the models you've highlighted?
I have to go to British Bricks. It's just snot all over it.
It's nice.
I actually had to, in order to achieve the lining on the cab, because on British Bricks one, the lining goes up, around, and down. I actually had to completely rebuild that section so that instead of being studs on the top, it was studs on the bottom. Well, if it wasn't a tile, studs on the bottom, because it's the only way I could fit it. It's held on by one whole stud. The entire brown and yellow section is one stud. But because of where it is and because you don't have to carry it, really touch it there, you get away with it. But yeah, it's
very nice.
It looks
going
great.
through British Bricks designs to turn them into instructions is an education, I have to say.
For sure.
Okay, let's go back to the camera. So Trace, I think we should probably pick you. So we're going to spotlight you for members to view that won't necessarily make it to the recording. So tell us a little bit about what you've been building in the last 3 to 4 months. And we'll go from there.
So a lot of it has been actually piggybacking off of a building technique that I stole from Will, or that Will kind of gave me the epiphany about, which is hiding circuit cube motors inside of tanks and boilers and everything like that. And so I've got a couple examples, starting with my Manning Wardle tank. It actually makes it completely removable so that there would normally be a battery box right inside of here. Then you can easily cover it. And it's just, it opens up the opportunity to make it customizable. It gives it the chance to have or spend less money on bricks when it comes to setting up your layout how you want it to be. And then it's just so fun figuring out what techniques you need in order to make these pieces removable so that you can have these really small builds and have them be self-powered. And that's been the majority of what I've been working on. I also just recently took down my entire layout and started to rebuild it again for probably the
Yes, again.
I was going to say, that's not the first time you've done it, is it?
Yeah, no, this is number 5, but number 5, I'm serious.
Yeah, believe it when I see it.
Yeah, I mean,
You
we're
can
off to
see
a pretty good start. I've already invested in a new track. We've got R56 curves for the first time ever. I've got the Tricks Bricks crossovers here that are really fun to play with.
I have to say the crossovers and the entry into the shed, I really like on that layout. That's a lot of operational fun.
Right, it's not garbage, and now I can kind of run things. It's really cool, and so we've got
really
a lot
cool
of stuff to play with. It gives it a lot more marketability. It shows just to show different things happening on the layout. And so I've been focusing on the yard, the shed, and then this siding over here. And eventually, I wanted to branch out to a different table, but baby steps. And so the next thing we're going to tackle is over in this back corner where all my faulty wiring is. We're going to be building up one of my rock faces. I'm really good at doing canyon walls. So we're going to turn that into an entire tunnel section, hopefully in that back corner, so that we can have all the housing back here elevated with a retaining wall blocking off the track. But it's one thing at a time. So I'm working on small tank engine locos and a full layout.
Very nice. And what I guess there's been some inspiration because there's some crossover between the last layout and this layout. But what made you want to rebuild it? Because I don't think your previous layouts they only had one loop, didn't they? So did you want to expand for running and have 2 loops?
Yeah, I wanted to create sort of a main line so I could run 2 engines at once. But also I realized I set myself up for failure with the previous iteration of the route because I had it elevated, and having to do the entire loop elevated and then figure out what's going to go in the ditch in the middle was a nightmare. And I just, at a point, I realized I had creative block and just had to start over. And I'm really glad I did. It's coming along a lot nicer than I thought it would.
Grace, your ability to kind of just churn out really nice scenery is, I'm very envious of it. Like that sort of green area, and then like the rock work you did before. Yeah, it's really good.
I appreciate it. It's I don't have any real reason for why it looks that way. It's more of just placing shit and hoping it works out.
Right.
Yeah. I was gonna say, what questions can I answer? How can I help?
I think the next question is probably about building techniques and whether you've discovered anything new in the last 3 or 4 months that you haven't used before or haven't seen before.
Yeah, so it's kind of fun. I encourage you, if you are building or if you're doing Lego trains and stuff, try other people's instructions and look for small things that are working there. One of my favorite pieces is this awkward little open wagon. I know it's not the standard LNUR wagon, but it's Andrew Lord's work. And for everything that comes with that, it's a very fun structure underneath, and it makes it a little more squat. So if I do line it up with our LNUR open wagon, or even with my new bouncing wagon, it offers the opportunity to at least have some diversity in what you're looking at. And it shows a lot of fun, I guess, texturing on the outside. It shows that there's a lot of creativity bounding between your different builds. But yeah, and then other than that, I guess just circling back around, the only other technique I'm really exploring is sort of that hidden circuit cube and how you can make it have a bit more motility so that my failed attempt, I really like my class 5, but you can see with the detail lining on the side from where I decided to make it detachable, it's always off and it doesn't necessarily stay where you want it to. And partially that's my fault for the way I built the running board, but it's also an exercise in just figuring out what's going to work and what's not. So we're still exploring that technique. And if I have any more details, you'll definitely see me post about it.
Oh, definitely. We won't be able to avoid them, I'm sure.
Yeah, sorry, guys.
No, I like it. I like all of the updates from it. Okay, any member sort of comments or questions for Trace before we move on?
Chris had a question, apparently.
What's up?
Trace, can you just move your camera slightly to your left? Yeah, explain that wiring for us.
Any other questions from members? That is the central power strip that runs out of my little hobby shed to the main house. And anyone who trips over that cord in the yard, I lose all power. So I got to figure out a different way to work it. But right now,
it's like you're stealing electricity from your neighbors.
I could. Right now, it's just a fire hazard. So there's a lot of room to grow.
Yep, great. Any more questions for Trace at the moment? Nope, that looks like a
Cool,
no.
great.
Thank you very much, Trace. Really nice. Okay, we are going to move to Renzo next, I think. So Renzo, we can see, at least we can on the recording, whether it makes it into the final edit, I don't know. But we can see some really nice models. So tell us what you've been building in the last 3 or 4 months.
Well, I actually have still the feeling that I'm just starting, but the main focus is my layout at the moment. And I have a place, I think you can see it a little bit. Let's see. Well, this is about 4 meters long and it's half a meter wide. So I had to make a decision what to do. Made a double track, just had a chat about it yesterday with Will, how to do the signaling and the whole thing with the switches, points for you people. I have the points from brick tracks, and they have the option to use technical axles to move them, and so I have them. So I have the whole technical thing hidden in the layout underneath. I have my whole layout leveled up 2 bricks high. So I have some running water, which makes sense because it's lying a little bit deeper in the layout. But the main reason is to do the wiring. At the moment, I'm figuring out how to make my points of my signals work. I have this one, and I just wired it up completely. So there is actually there's a yellow light behind the blue thing because I read that it was blue because of the yellow light, that it will turn into a kind of greenish. So I wanted to make it like
that's
like
really cool.
Yeah,
that's such a good idea.
I have a lot of really small switches. I don't know if you guys can see it, but this is it only has to be touched. This way the red light is on. If it is loosened, the green light will be on. So I can connect that, and I'll connect it also to the mechanism in the switches. So if it all works, I'll change switch and the lights will correspond with it. That's my main goal at the moment. And I had my Yinti light up, so I used the extra ports for the how do you call it, the circuit cube, to control the front light and the back light separately.
God, that's cool.
That's
really cool.
Yeah.
Nice customizations there, Renzo. Thanks.
Yes.
Oh, that's
Yeah, definitely.
So, does anybody have questions for Renzo and what he's been building at the moment?
Yeah.
So it looks like you've got
Not
quite an impressive
necessarily.
layout setup progressing there along the 4 meters.
Yeah, I'm building the shed at the moment, and I just ordered 800 cheese slopes.
As you do.
Yeah. That
Build
sounds a
roof.
familiar problem.
See, yeah.
Hey,
Cool.
Renzo, what's your background? Like, what do you do for a job where you're able to figure out how to do all that wiring? Like, I see that you also have lights inside of your shed too, right?
Yes. I lighted everything up. Yeah, I'm a teacher at school. I'm teaching techniques. So.
Oh.
Yeah, and it's more in general. I'm actually a woodworker and a carpenter, but next to being a teacher, and but all the electronics, the basics, it just all interests me. So it doesn't. Yeah, it's I really enjoy going to the freak shop in the city nearby. And there's one store, and they sell only electronics, and they're like those really nerdy people who just jump off like, oh, what are you going to do? And well, I promised them to go there. I go there with my Lego to show them what I built.
Oh, excellent.
Awesome.
Yeah, that's
Oh,
me.
that's cool. I need a shop like that. That sounds so great.
Brilliant. Thank you, Renzo. Any more questions for Renzo before we move on to the next member, who's Andrew?
Can you move the camera so we can see a zoom shot of your layout like that?
It does look really nice, and hopefully, so I think we're recording on Zoom, but we will just use the audio.
I
And,
love that. If you get a chance, guys,
we'll
look
get
at
some nice
Renzo's
photos.
Twitter. He's got a lot of good developments there.
Yeah, the engine shed's really nice as well.
God, that's cool. Good job, Renzo. Nice work.
Really
Definitely,
nice.
yeah.
Yeah, very cool.
I love all the little customizations with the electronics as well. I think that's really nice.
That's so
Okay,
cool.
thank you, Renzo. So we're going to move over to Andrew next,
Hello.
aka Techno Andrew Productions, or
That's the one.
yep,
That's the
That's the
strange
Lego
username
one.
that I stuck with after about 12 years.
yeah. Too late to change it now, unfortunately.
Definitely, yeah.
Yeah, tell us what you've been building. Is it an award-winning locomotive?
Probably not. No, I've been there and done that. So that was earlier in the year. I was lucky to win with my Tornado model. That was kind of previous projects earlier in the year. But now my main focus now is preparing for the show which we mentioned towards the beginning of the podcast, Acton Depot Brick Show, which is London Transport Museum in London. So this is a show I've actually done quite a few exhibitions there in the past with a guy called David Tabner. And because we're at the London Transport Museum, it tends to be focused on London Underground models. So David Tabner builds a lot of the tube trains and underground stock. And I've focused more on the steam engine side. So this is a model I've previously built. It's an old Metropolitan Railway London Underground steam engine. It's recognizable as an underground loco because it's got these massive pipes going along which take the exhaust steam and put them back into the tanks to condense them, which sort of worked from what I've heard, but not always. So I've had that running at past events, but I wanted to improve it, so that's what I've been doing recently. What I used to have is a Power Functions train motor powering the driving wheels directly. And the trouble with that is the train motor is designed for the smaller wheels. So like the torque isn't really enough to drive a loco with bigger wheels. And therefore what tended to happen is the train would zoom along the straights and then kind of ground to a halt round the tight curves. So I wanted a kind of way of getting around that problem. So my latest new project has been building this new wagon, which is a Metropolitan Milk van. And they have a real one of these preserved, and it's normally actually based at the museum where we're exhibiting. So I can probably get a picture of this with the real one during the event, which would be nice.
Oh,
during the year, which was like 150 years of London Underground, they did some special services to commemorate that, where they ran steam engines on the underground. And this is basically the wagon that was right behind the engine. They just felt like running it because they could. So basically, this is the ideal wagon, therefore, to fit a motor in to drive the engine from behind, so the motor doesn't have to be in the engine anymore. So this wagon, if I can get it off a sec, there we go. The wagon has a removable section on top, which means you can then access a battery. And I've used the powered up system for a change. So that's got battery in there, and then obviously just a normal powered up train motor underneath. The trouble is the motor bogey's got quite a short wheelbase, whereas the wagon's the real one at least, is much longer. So I kind of went for a sort of trick of visuals, and that's the motor wheels are kind of hidden, and then I've got some like fake axle box detail on the outside, which makes it look like it's got a longer wheelbase than it actually is. This is an idea I stole from British Bricks because he's done something similar with his engines. He's made a video about them. So yeah, copy that design. And then Another trouble is because the wheels are close together, but the wagon's long, the couplings might sort of bind when going around the corners. So what I've done with the couplings on this one is, rather than using the normal coupler pieces, I've attached them to kind of longer arms using the old style like magnet pieces that used to get in old space sets, I think. So yeah, that hopefully just makes it run better around tight corners, particularly S-bends like points. So yeah, it's been fun to do. I've been testing it around just simple layouts at home recently, and it's all working quite nicely. So yeah, that's been keeping me busy.
Looks very nice. I'm hoping to get to that show myself on the Sunday.
Hopefully so, yeah.
Do we have any member questions?
Questions
for Andrew?
If you drop the milk tanker, will you cry over the spilt milk?
If I drop the milk, oh dear. It took me a moment to get that. I'm slightly slow today.
It's not even a milk tanker, but you know.
What I need to do is put some, because the actual vehicle took the milk in those old style milk churns. I think the sort of things you see dotted around heritage railways. So what I need to do is add some miniature ones in there, and then I can drop it and cry about the spilt milk then.
Yes.
So that'll fulfill that dream.
Great, thank you, Andrew. I really enjoyed that. I can see Trace is talking, but he's almost definitely muted.
He is.
Sorry, I muted people because we got some background noise in the recording.
Well, whose fault is that?
Yours?
It's always Carter's fault.
Dodgy electrics.
Great.
Off you go,
Andrew,
Trace.
how long have you had your Metropolitan locos?
I want to say this one's getting on for 10 years old now, maybe slightly less. But yeah, it's been a hot minute. So
I was gonna say, I feel like I remember seeing that one in the Garden Trains video, and that was one that really made me realize I could build better than just shit locos.
Yeah, it's been in a bunch of my YouTube videos, and you can probably tell from the problems I talked about with the motors that it was always bombing along at about scale speed of 500 miles an hour. So yeah, these new changes will hopefully fix that.
You're
to
saying
some
it's
extent.
accurate.
Yeah. I've got another Metropolitan Loco too, which has just got a 9-volt motor underneath, so that runs fine. But that was the problem, Char.
What are you going to run at the show? Are you going to do it 9 volts, or are you going to stick with just plastic track?
So my new wagon with the motor in, you can fit just a 9-volt motor in because it's the same shape as the power function powered up motor. So if I wanted to run it on 9-volt, I could. But for the show that's coming up, I've actually got a loop of R56 plastic track. So the plan is to run it around that and then have my 9-volt locos running on a 9-volt loop inside.
Oh, nice. That'll be good.
Mm-hmm.
Very nice. Any more queries for Andrew?
Yeah, with your milk van, you said the magnet was from an old space set. That magnet, is it one long solid piece, or is it a few Technic pieces connected to the magnet?
It's a few Technic pieces. So the actual piece is about the same size as the regular coupling piece, but rather than a pin for a pivot, it's got like a Technic sort of stud and hole, so you can attach other stuff to it.
I've not seen that. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, you can still get them in black on Bricklink. So yeah.
Very nice.
Cool, huh?
They were used by a crane, wasn't it? By a space set for a crane, something like that. With
that rings a bell, yeah, to have some kind of robot arm on like a moon buggy type thing.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to look that up. That's actually really cool.
Got a couple of other bits I could mention. Got the conflats with container, which is for the SLUR.
The Southern Club.
The LSUR. That's the one. I'm still waiting for the prints because the prints are taking a bit of time, but otherwise, yeah, that's pretty much ready to go. And I can talk about some future projects if you want.
We can save those for the end, thanks.
Okay, can do.
So we should have time to do those. Okay, I think our next member who's going to talk about some of the builds he's been working on is Henry.
Yes, so I've been working on things. So well, at the moment, I'm doing some work on my bit of the southern layout, which is the station module. I'm just waiting for delivery from Tech Brick for the track so that I can get that all ballasted and finished off, which hopefully should arrive soon. And then I can start doing more of that. And then I built one conflat a few months ago, but I've got my Gronk on it. I've also worked on I've also put the opening doors I'd already designed on one of the containers for it, and a small container that I've done a Richard and not finished it.
Good. You're not allowed to finish that ever again now. It's done.
Yes, fine. And then I've also worked on this
Ooh, that's nice.
austerity. Yeah. I was very much inspired by Rory Falconer's one.
Yeah,
And
it's a really nice design.
But mine's got an XL motor in it, which Will really, really doesn't like. But it's the only one I had, so I'm using it.
Seems fair.
And so I've got, as you can see, I've got most of it in the right colour, but I'll be getting the rest of the pieces in time for the first show with the southern layout, whenever that eventually maybe hopefully happens. And then mainly digitally, but I've been working on 2 locos for trophies for LNUR Fest at the big request of Richard. One of them...
I'm a slave driver. It's true.
It really is. He doesn't do any of the work.
Yeah. Ideally not. No.
Yeah, one of the locos is very much based on this Gronk, but I mean, it's less cool because it's not a rainbow Gronk, so... But it's almost as good. It's like
we do have some very nice...
I mean, it's less cool because it's a diesel, but hey.
We do have
Trace,
some very nice...
You will wish you were here for the second one.
Yeah,
it's really good.
Yeah.
What you got?
Oh, it's a pearl gold Gronk on a plinth. That's our...
Yeah.
That's one of our trophy... Yeah.
And
there's also a terrier.
Well, it's not
a
so
terrier?
much... Well, it's not
There's
quite a terrier.
Now Trace wants one.
It's not really a terrier. It's just a sort of generic esteem loco.
I mean, they all look the same anyway, don't they?
Shut up,
diesels.
Richard.
I got booed for that. I could see people booing me, although they were muted.
Yeah, I feel like we're getting off topic a bit.
Yeah, we are a bit. Yeah.
yeah. So I've been working on those 2 trophies for LNUR Fest, which I don't know whether it has happened, is happening, or will happen by the time this has been released. But whenever it happens, assuming it doesn't get cancelled, it's for then.
Fingers crossed.
Yep. And then I've also during this podcast, in fact, gone back to doing a bit of work on my Cadbury No. 1 locomotive that I've been working on and off for for most of a year now, I think. And I mean, I've got about half a loco, but I'm just struggling to attach the buffer beams at the front. It's really annoying. And I've gone through a few different physical test models, especially since I got the wheels. Thank you, Trace. So I've done a few of them.
Okay. Any more
not
questions?
Much avail.
Any questions or comments for Henry's models before we move on?
I do love the rainbow
Trace.
change the conflat.
Yes, Henry, you told that you had brick tracks that you want to go ballasting?
No, not brick tracks, Trix bricks.
Oh, yeah, that's easy. Okay, no problem.
Yeah, we're getting ballast plates for the points, and that's all I have to worry about. Levi's got the curves, and so's Tim.
Okay.
A smart plan. Ordering those ballast pieces to fit under their weird track is the best investment I've ever made. Question though, really quick. What scale is your saddle tank?
This one, big, unreasonably big. It's
How wide is it? How many studs?
8 wide for
Oh,
those of
8.
you who can't
Ooh,
count.
sacrilege.
Ooh.
Yeah,
Jesus.
well,
H-wide master race.
yeah, well, I kind of had to, because the only way I could figure out a way to get the saddly bits and the power functions battery box there, and the same thing, I could only figure it out to do 8 wide. I do have a quarter done 7 wide model using some arches, but it just didn't look that good, so I got bored and gave up.
Thank you very much, Henry. Okay, I think we can move on to our next member, and our next member is Levi. So, Levi, what have you been building? I'm going to spotlight you for members who actually see what you've been building.
Right. Well, relatively, I haven't built that much. A lot of it's been digital. I've been working on a standard 4 tank that's coming on quite well, actually. But the main thing I've been building, just rotate my camera, is a layout, basically. So I'm going to be at a model railway event at the Spa Valley Railway, second weekend of September, hopefully, and I need a layout for it. So I got to work. It's a simple loop with 2 sidings around the front, R56 curves, all ballasted and looking quite nice. My main focus recently has been at the far end, getting a nice embankment built.
Really nice. It's getting there.
I don't realise how many green plates I'd need for this sort of thing. So I'm probably ordering 600 more plates in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, the struggle is real.
Along with the rest of the tiles I need for all the sleepers.
It's a lovely bridge in the background. I really like it.
I don't know who designed that. They must be a real clever guy.
Can't think. Looks really nice.
That bridge is very basic. Did a child do it?
It's not quite Duplo.
I wouldn't call Richard a child, but you know.
Okay.
The other things I've been working on is getting sound. It's in there.
Yay!
Getting sound into my Gronk.
Gronk.
Gronk appears on screen and everyone goes crazy. Yeah.
My PFX bricks finally arrived a couple of weeks ago, so I've been working on figuring out how to fit them in and figuring out when I'm going to get the sounds recorded for it, as there are no Class 10 audio files online anywhere, and they sound different at 08s.
Sounds like
but nobody would know the difference.
No, nobody would know the difference.
Also, quick little thing, I have obviously I think the camera's flipped, but I've got a LNUR headboard on my Battle of Britain steam engine.
Very nice.
I've got a load of them somewhere.
Do you like bullies?
Yes.
I'm quite partial to bullies, yes.
Yeah, it needs an overhaul, really, because the boiler's too small and the tender's too simple.
Yeah, it's a good start, though. It's a nice looking Loco.
Yeah. But yeah, other than that, I have mostly been sorting my collection out as we moved house a couple of months ago, and I finally had a chance to set all my these 2 tables up, and I've got a whole sort of, relatively small.
Is that a spaceship, young man?
That is.
Yes, that is the Saturn
Oh,
V,
no.
Richard.
As glorious
I
ship as
expect
it
you to
is.
know better.
No, I have that set.
got
I have that set as well, the Saturn V.
Set
set,
dodecahedron
and
set
it's
of yours
really
as well.
nice.
Yeah, that's a Rubik's Knot Cube.
Oh, okay,
The
cool.
Saturn V set is really nice, though. It's
But
really
yeah.
nice build
Yeah.
for a
Also,
spaceship.
I saw the map of Middle-earth.
I've got. There's so many
don't do
Easter
that.
eggs and funny jokes in this room.
Hello, editing room in the podcast.
Yeah, sorry, Matt. Sorry. Okay.
Yeah.
So any
Other than that, just sort of landscaping and working on this layout. I finally actually got the plan finished like the other week. So it's just a case of
That's
getting
the first
bricks
step.
and
Yep.
building.
And does any other members have questions or comments? I think Trace is holding his hand up. So Trace.
Yeah. So Levi, you've got that bridge for your loop that you're doing for the display. Are you going to do half a loop and then a false wall, or are you going to have the entire loop able to display?
So it'll only be the front half that's scenic. On the right hand side corner, it's just a steep embankment. There's no sort of like actual wall or anything. It's just sort of just stops. But I am hoping to get, if I have time, I'm hoping to get backboards quickly constructed and painted and just slap them onto the side, because it would just be like sheets of wood sticking up, basically.
Yeah, as long as they're a sky color, I
Whatever
think
gets
it.
the job done.
Yeah, I think it makes sense.
It's just dependent on time, really, because I've got some wood downstairs that I could probably use that I was going to use for a model railway, but I can always just reuse them afterwards. But I do hope to have some form of wall covering the entire back.
Well, we should have a row of terraced houses, at least down part of it, that's about 20 bricks tall, which is enough to obscure the locos going around back, which if you don't hide that, it kind of ruins the magic for the kids where they see it going in one side and coming out the other, I think.
Yeah.
Andrew also has a question. So Andrew, off you go.
Yeah, I was curious to hear about you recording the sounds for the Gronk to like put on the FX brick, is it you got?
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't think I've heard many other people tackling that. So like actually going out and recording it and then sort of processing it so it goes into the Loco. So you have to get like loads of different sounds for it.
Obviously I volunteer at the Spa Valley Railway, and we've got one of the last couple of like preserved class 10s, and I've got a few sound files already from it and just running, like going down the line and such, and I'm hoping I can get sort of the idle sound and the couple of first 3 engine noises from that, purely dependent on how well I can actually edit the sound. Other than that, I need to get sort of particular sounds like the horn. I need to get that from a distance so I don't hear the engine noise in the background. I've got to get some sanders, vacuum brakes. I'm going to try and get it as close as I can to like an actual model. And my long-term plan is to do the same with my bullied and any other large engines I build, because I think sounds, especially on a Lego layout where you've already got quite loud motor noises, it would really just enhance sort of the detail. And I'm all about getting a good layout, make it look like a model railway, and sort of prove to people that I can get, that Lego is a form of modeling rather than just a toy, which obviously here it's a bit, we all know it's a model, but like the outside world don't know these things.
The outside world.
Yeah, I definitely get where you're coming from.
Do you mean normal human beings, maybe?
Yeah.
Muggles.
Something like that. Okay. I think Renzo has a question for Levi, and then we might move on after that.
Did you already try to go to some like Hornby or something? Like I can imagine that the sounds are already recorded for the same purpose, only by a more advanced hobby club kind of thing.
I've done quite a bit of research. The Class 10 has never been modelled, nor has it ever been done in any train simulator games. It's because it looks the same as any other, like a Gronk. It's a Gronk basically. It just has a different engine. So no company has ever really thought about recording those sounds, just because there's no point, because it looks like very few people will know the difference between an 08 that Chris loves and a Class 10. But it's the whole thing that I would know about it that is the reason why I'm doing it.
Does it sound different then?
Yeah, so Class 10 has I think a Blackstone engine in it, and the 08 has something else. They're 2 different engines, and 2 different primers, so they sound completely different. But to most people, it's just diesel noises, to be honest. But it's just little things like that people can then pick up on when they look at it run, that I hope to achieve.
Well, that's the best. I also see the space you have for your layout, so you better go freak on the details then, because you can run around the house. Yeah.
Smaller space, more details, hopefully.
Yeah, that's what I did.
Thanks, Renzo. Thanks, Levi. We're going to move on to our next member, and that is Miller. So, Miller, tell us about what you've been building in the last couple of months, what you've been tweaking and changing.
Well, let me tell you.
That was, for people just listening to the audio, that was Miller opening a can of Iron Brew that he's obviously been saving until we got to him.
Cold.
That was your ASMR for the episode.
Yeah, we'll just repeat that for an hour.
Yeah. I've been making some more grogs. I haven't got anything with me. I've got one thing to show you. I haven't got any locos. I've got 4 more gronks in different stages, from a chassis with no wheels to nearly finished. I can see everyone looking really happy and cheerful about that, especially Trace.
Does that bring your total number of grogs to something like 72?
Must be near that.
14, 15.
14 grogs.
I lose track. They're all
Were you about to say they're all the same?
No.
Basically,
It's a glitch with Zoom. Hello? Is anyone there? I've lost you. Yeah. Moving on. I do have this to show. I've made some overhead wiring.
Oh, very nice. Is that for the bridge?
Yes.
Good. It's all right.
I mean, it's fragile while you're holding it. When it's on a baseboard, it's not too bad.
How are you going to fasten it to the bridge?
Just falling apart. Yeah.
Say that again, Nicola.
How are you going to fasten it to the bridge? Is it going to be fastened to the sides of the walls, or are you going to fasten it directly onto the track bed?
Part of glue. Yeah, a lot of glue. Nearer the back, where the wall is taller, it'll be like that, sat on top of the wall. And nearer the actual bridge, it'll be like this, so the full thing. I'm going to test it. I'll have the rope string pieces with a stud at each end.
Ropes is that the ropes is a technical term for that.
Ropes
Yeah.
is.
Ropes is.
I'm going to try it, and if it's just a complete ball ache, it won't be on there. But if it's not too bad, it's there to stay. Yeah. So there's that. There's the grongs. I've mainly been doing stuff on scenery on my layout, and spending far too much money on bits that I'll notice, but no one else in the world will ever notice.
The struggle is real.
Yeah, like one of my buildings, it's based on a real pub, and the original building was 3 floors, but now it's only got the ground floor. But the building it's connected to still has the original old fireplace just up in the air. And I thought, I'm going to replicate that. And I bought all the bits and did it, and then thought, that was a lot of money for that. And people who come and look at the layout are going to go, that's nice. And then they're going to go to the next layout.
Yeah, that is very true.
Yeah.
Any questions for Mr. Miller there?
So what next are you going to build, or at least transform so it's all in Iron Brew colors? Are you going to make a dedicated Iron Brew building just to have it on your layout for the sake of having it?
No more buildings. I haven't got the room. I haven't got a car big enough to transport it all. I've bought a roof box, so I've got enough room. Otherwise, the passenger couldn't get in. Yeah.
Okay. Trace has a question. He's very eagerly raising his hand there.
Yeah. So Chris, since you have a lot of really cool buildings across your layout, are you going to do something like Levi has, or maybe try something light-wise, like what Renzo's doing, just to give it a little more atmosphere?
Yes.
Great.
I mean, my confidence in that answer with a one-word answer is low.
The problem I've had with my layout is I bought a bunch of pneumatics because I wanted to have things move.
Yeah.
And I'm really struggling to think of things to actually build.
Yeah. I don't think pneumatics is the way to do it.
Turnstile going over and over again.
Well, I've currently got a man set in one of the doorways, and when you do the pneumatics, he jumps out the door and then jumps back in.
Okay.
But other than that, there isn't anything on the layout that is obvious to move other than doors.
You don't have any points on the layout to move to.
There's no
I can dig it.
sides. There's no. They don't have lights. They don't have. You know, it's all automated.
No. And I apologize. As a static layout, it's gorgeous. I was just curious if that was something you were ever considering.
I've considered it. It's just the
Not
doing.
necessary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. We have a question from Levi now.
Yeah.
Yeah, what colour is your next Gronk going to be?
Again, you cracked up a bit there.
What colours are your next Gronks going to be?
Yes.
Doesn't matter
Rainbow
which kind.
Gronk
Just gonna build
confirmed.
one.
Which Yes album in particular are they going to be based on?
Roundabout.
That's good, cool.
It's more based on new liveries that have appeared on Gronks lately. That's all I'm going to say.
That's fair.
They're all based on real ones.
We've covered our mandatory Gronk talk for the podcast, so I think we can move on. Nicola,
Hello.
welcome. So would you like to tell us a little bit about what you've been building Lego-wise, and then we can maybe discuss what you've been building for the club as well?
Yeah, sure. I've not got a layout as such. I'm a little bit of a magpie, so I'll just be dropping in with my sparse amount of models and putting them on like Chris's layout, whether he likes it or not, or someone else's. What I've been doing recently is a version of a railway station up in northeast Scotland called Fern Station. That's Fearn. So I've been working on that and trying to put a little bit of my own personality into it. And obviously I've got my class 303, which is not a blue pacer by any stretch. And it's got a few, well, I consider, based on my limited technical ability, to be decent features on it, I guess, which I'm quite happy with. I have been trying to think of ways of smoothing out the front end a little bit. But at the moment, I've not come up with anything as yet.
Fair enough. I think, it's a really nice model. It's nice to see something a bit unusual, a bit different modeled as well. Does anybody have questions from members for Nicola about her models? There must be some.
The 303 is welcome on my layout, but you won't get it back.
That's more of a statement than a question. And
That is,
no.
yeah. And also, it won't fit through the tunnels, presumably.
Okay. Here's a question. When you put the 303 on it and I keep it, how upset will you be?
I won't be, because that's not going to happen.
You're playing with fire here. She's definitely going to kick your backside.
We don't kink shame here.
I'm getting hot and bothered here, Chris. You need to stop with this line of questioning statements.
Oh, I do declare.
He has the same effect on us all, I'm sure, in a weird way.
No.
Yeah, any more questions for Nicola about 303 or what you've been doing? Trace.
Would you say that? Oh, go on.
Okay. Yeah, I know when you were designing the 303, you had different iterations for that front that you were choosing between. Are you still deliberating which prototype you want to go with?
No, I would like an entirely new one. That none of the ones I produced were really satisfactory, I suppose. It's too angular. I want a much smoother look to it. So.
Okay. I wish you luck with that endeavor.
Thank you.
Nicola, I think you're too harsh on yourself, and it looks good.
That's really good.
And
Good.
do you have it at hand? Can we see it, please, if you do?
Can you see it?
Can we see it now
Say
if you
again,
have it to hand?
I might have it to hand. Hang on, I'll have to rummage for it a little bit.
Aha!
Well found.
Oh, it's a
Yes.
good length as well.
God, it's
Oh,
so
look at the
good.
size on that. Oh, wow.
So yeah, so one of the things I was quite pleased about was the angles on the bodywork, which don't use the sort of curved tiles that most people go for. And to achieve that, I used upside down cheese slopes on the sides, which have been secured using rods on the inside and 1x1 modified studs with clips on them.
It's definitely impressive, the fact that you've gone to that length of detail profiling the size of a carriage properly, because a lot of people, it's not necessarily what they focus on when designing carriages, but it makes a big difference. So yeah, nice job.
And obviously it's
Translates really well.
brick lined as well. Recessed the doors by a tiny fraction. I'm quite pleased with the windows as well, because I used headlight bricks to simulate occasionally an open window in the middle, because on these trains it was only the middle window that would open.
That's a really nice detail.
Definitely, yeah.
I like it.
Really like that.
Yeah, I'm trying to think what else. Oh, the little black L plates on the bottom of the doors they stick out ever so slightly because the doors are recessed. They stick out by the same amount. And that's just to give the impression of the footsteps that were in place on these trains as well.
Really nice. Some really nice details there. We'll definitely have to get that running somewhere.
Maybe an LNUR Fest.
Maybe so.
Maybe so.
Thank you, Nicola. And Nicola's also been really busy with something that isn't a locomotive or a multiple unit. She's been building our sample LNUR baseboards for the northern layout. So would you like to tell us a little bit about that? So we did have a specification. We decided on a modular size of about 2x4 baseboards. And then we can double them up if we want deeper things. But our priority really is to get good running lengths, because so many members have long trains. We just want something that's a bit scenic that we can run trains on. But yeah, tell us about that and the things you've learned along the way.
I learned that Carter doesn't use standard measurements like centimeters or millimeters. He uses baseboards, which is very confusing when you're building baseboards.
Not baseboards.
Base plates.
Base plates.
When you're building baseboards. Anyway, so yeah, as Richard Carter, that man says, we're decided on 2x4 because it keeps the board quite manageable. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
So
Hello?
I think
Are you there?
yeah,
We're just laughing at that man.
That man.
Oh, right, okay.
Which is now going to be my name in chat forever, isn't it? But,
oh, that's good. Yeah, I like that.
I think
So we decided on 2x4 because it's a manageable size for transportation, but it also allows for a fair amount to be left on for between shows. I think the best way of thinking about the baseboards is actually as squares, though. The way that I've designed them is that there are 4 securing holes on each side of a square, which is 2x2 base plates, and each alternate hole on each side has got a nut that's it's called a spiked nut. I can't remember exactly what the term is, but basically it's in the board permanently. It's got prongs that hold it in place, and it means that you could take any 2 boards and put them side by side, and you could bolt them in exactly the same way, which is a bolt going through from one side and then from the other side, and so on and so on. And by doing that, all boards can be mounted together. They can be mounted side by side in long ways or in an L shape. So they're very versatile. They use strip wood underneath to give them a bit of support, but they're basically marine plywood, and that's a pretty robust type of material, which isn't too expensive. Unlike MDF, on the other hand, can be susceptible to knocks and bashes, which can wear out over time. So I felt that the ply was a good choice overall. Sorry, do you want to jump in, Richard? Because I can't think of what I was going to say just then. It's gone.
No, it's fine. So I think, so comparing that to our previous baseboards, which was our sort of first attempt at them, we went too deep on the wood. They were just heavy. The modules were 4.5 base plates by 4.5 base plates. Can't remember exactly the sort of measurements in inches for that, but by base plates I mean the 32 by 32s. So I think, yeah, we learned quite a few lessons from that, and the transport box was really heavy, and so heavy to the point that our original plan was to wheel the transport box for the modules into the venue wherever we were and set them up, and it was just too heavy to do that. So we did manage to get the layout all the way to Portugal for the Portuguese fan weekend, and that was really good, but we did not take the box out of the van. We just carried the modules in with some, I was going to say willing volunteers, but they weren't really willing. They were nearby volunteers who were harassed into doing it for us, but it was really kind. So yeah, I think we learned some lessons there. We want them more lightweight, and we're definitely going to set a maximum height on each module that is buildable. So about 4 bricks tall, I think, is what we're going for, and we just need to work out how many modules we want building, and then a transport system, and then where to store them. Easy, so easy. Yeah. Maths.
Yes.
Maths. Who
So
likes
maths.
maths? Nobody.
I love maths.
Maths
Aw.
is as interesting as horoscopes.
Shut up.
It's the same
Chris.
thing.
The only other thing that we need to do is decide on legs for the baseboards so that they're self-supporting. You don't have to rely on tables, which can be a bit hit and miss really when you're at different venues. So
Always.
we're looking at
definitely a thing.
we're looking at IKEA legs at the moment for being easily removed because they come with a bracket and a central thread on the actual leg itself. And also it means that you don't have to worry about which table each leg belongs to because they'll be exactly the same.
Also true. Important. Yeah, it just needs to be lightweight to carry in, compact for transport, because we don't necessarily want to hire a massive van each time for an event. And yeah, just easy to set up. And the current system we created with the aim of making it easy to set up, and it was about the same amount of time, just didn't work. Okay, so thanks, Nicola. I'm going to finish up on myself. Yeah. So I'm going to show just one project. I'm working on a couple, but I think I've been doing conflats, but people have showed those. So been working on some terraced houses to send to the southern layout, the LSUR Lego Southern UK Railway, and this is what I've got so far. So I still need to buy more windows, more window panes. I'm not quite sure on the sign. We're going to think of a name for the pub as well, and the idea is that we're going to put tracing paper inside them so you can't see through. We're not going to do interiors on this because I don't think we need to, and it's just more stuff. It's more stuff to break in transport. So that was the pub end. We've got just a middle row of terraces. So we've got a little arch. This is an arch from some Lego City cars, and it might be in Speed Champions. I don't know, but it's like a car wheel arch. We've got some windows and a roof, and we have a bit of a standard for the Southern Railway. So the back scenes, we've decided we're going to build the houses 10 deep to give a little bit of perspective. So it's low relief. A house isn't really 10 bricks deep at that scale. It's going to be at least 20, maybe a bit more. And we're going to have these six studs for the pavement. Put a little milk bottle there to remind me to build a scene for it. But yeah, the idea is to build low relief, and I haven't finished the roof at the back of the scene, because if it drops off, it's going to look, if you imagine a back scene like that, it's going to look a lot more natural if it drops off slightly and the chimneys. So we have shortened, or I have shortened the buildings there, but I think they're going to look more natural if the if the roof, and this is probably a better example, if the roof drops off before the end of the back seam, otherwise it just looks a bit weird and the roof would be really tall, just wouldn't work. So that's the last section. We've got a little road sign there, which is indented, so it can, the plan is that that should be sitting up against a another section built by another member, hopefully at some point. But that's what I've been working on. I've already built a section like that, and it was based sort of on, I think it was it Pico or somebody else? One of the model railway companies had a terraced house with shops model. And that's kind of what probably Metcalf. Henry says, yeah, probably was actually. So that is what I've been working on. And I think we are closing into the end of the podcast. So
can I make a suggestion for your terraces that I did for mine?
Yes.
Take the how they currently are off of the base plates, put another brick height underneath the doors, put it back down, and then when you build the pavements up, the doors won't look wrong because it'll be a slight step up off the.
But these are going on a base plate which has a temporary. It's got jumper plates to attach it to, so it matches up with the height of the new road plates that I think the Southern Club are using.
Oh, those. Okay.
Those things. Yeah.
Those.
I actually do need. So some of the edge of those bottom plates might be visible, so I'm going to swap them out for LBG or one of the greys, dark bluish grey maybe.
So
Chris, if you want to fund another road style, you know how to contact us.
I ain't funding you the way I did mine.
Yeah, I think you should.
I'm not
very fair.
Rich. I think the road on mine is mainly like 3/4 of the cost of the damn thing, of the entire layout.
Yeah, it probably is. If you do it a silly way, that's what you're going to get.
Well, at least mine looks nice.
Okay, so I think we have a very quick round. So literally, we're going to give members a minute to do just a quick 60-second thing into another Lego builder, another Lego railway builder they really like, who inspires them to build stuff, because then we'll link them to Instagram or whatever in the podcast description. I think that'd be a nice resource. So I really like Jang Bricks on YouTube. On Instagram, I really like NW Bricks, who's a guy in Northwest England, and he's building a really nice city which happens to have trains in it. I don't think he's a huge train fan, maybe. We're going to go to Trace next, please. So, Trace.
Yeah. I guess who I really follow or I like to check out is Scott Nick on Flickr. He's been doing Lego locomotives for a really long time. He's got a nice back catalog of stuff you can go and preview that he shows a lot of his internal workings. So if you're just getting started, it's a great way to kind of see where you can go. And that's kind of my only recommendation, I think, for now, because I think I'll say a lot of what everyone else will too.
I think Scott Nick's a really good recommendation. Will is next. So which Lego train builders do you really admire, Will?
Well, I mean, it'd be bad if I didn't mention British Bricks, partly because he's brilliant, and also because
I knew there was going to be a product.
Because he's working with us these days. I second Trace on Scott Nick. I don't think the queue would ever have been finished without Scott Nick's help. So if the queue hadn't been finished, I probably wouldn't have done anything else. So it's all his fault, really. Off the top of my head, those are the two sort of, I'd say probably like Scott Nick was the most formative for me, and Andrew, of course, but he's already here. So
he's too famous.
Basically, Scott Nick and Andrew, between Scott Nick's advice and Andrew's videos and photographs and that's pretty much what got me through my early days.
And speaking of Andrew, who is next in the list? So who's inspired you, Andrew?
There was definitely a lot of builders in the early days that inspired me that maybe aren't building so much nowadays. One of them is a guy called Jason Railton. He's a member of Brickish. And I've
Yes.
seen
Yeah, I know
seen a few,
Jason. Yeah.
met him at quite a few events. One of the really nice models he built was an LNUR A4 in the silver link livery, the silver and grey.
Oh,
and
nice.
It had a matching set of teak coaches to go with it. So his stuff's definitely worth checking out, even if he doesn't do as much train stuff nowadays. Nowadays, there's a builder which I've seen come on quite recently to the scene called Seth Bricked, and he's been designing some really nice stuff, both virtually and in physical brick. So definitely check him out.
Great, thanks, Andrew. I think that's it's a nice endorsement, isn't it? I think we're going to move to Miller because he has his microphone off.
No, I don't.
Yes, you do. Get on with it. Favorite builder?
Mine, they are on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube, and they are Glasgow Brick Subway.
Okay.
They
How
are
did
quite
I know?
famous as well. They've been on Glasgow. No, I quite.
We'll just
like,
cut that bit. It's fine.
Is his name Alex Nunes?
Oh yeah, the American guy who's got a really big
Yeah,
seller.
he does make his own stuff. He does make
A little bit, yeah.
with his, but he's got a lot of stuff going on. Like if you had your dream job where you're paid millions, he's got the huge layout you'd do. And that's one of the first people I've started looking at before I started deciding to build my own Lego city.
Oh, so it's his fault. His fault. You're here. Okay.
Yeah. Way before LNUR. Back when I was just doing modular buildings in my own town. When I was just doing trams, I didn't even know what a gronk was at that point.
Okay. Thanks, Miller. We're going to go to Henry next, please, and then Renzo after Henry.
I don't really use social media and follow builders that much, so I'm just going to say Rory Falconer because he was the one that I really inspired me to do that austerity.
The austerity is designed really nice, yeah.
And also Trace because he does live streams occasionally, which are quite amusing.
Yeah, especially when he cuts himself and gets blood everywhere. That's always entertaining. That's what we aim for in a live stream. Okay, thank you. Renzo, would you like to tell us some of your inspirational builders, please?
Well, I don't really have names to. Of course, I'm only Googling and searching for special techniques. So when I'm looking for lanterns to light up my layout, I'll just go find lights, and I just want to see as much as possible. And I did the same with the signals. I had someone help me out because what was his name? Is he the club member? Smith Movies.
Oh, Isaac.
Yes.
Yeah.
Isaac.
He made some. He helped me out with the poles, and I just looked at all his videos. That was nice, but was not my scale. Yeah, and when I get stuck on YouTube, it's just a waste of time. But I get there too often, and there's too much to watch, and I can enjoy everything. Yeah.
Okay, thanks, Renzo. So we're going to move to Nick next. So Nick, the influential builders.
I'm like Henry. I don't really look at the social media too much, but I'm quite impressed with Lewis's Mallard. It's nice for a steam engine, and it's blue, which is good.
Blue is good, but we'll definitely cut that bit out because he doesn't need any more popularity. Or,
It's not Miller. It doesn't go to his head. It goes right over his head because he's short.
It's only the alcohol that goes to his head.
Okay. So we're going to go to Luke next, please.
It was only in the past few years where I decided to look to people on YouTube and Flickr to kind of gain inspiration. And I think, like many people could relate to, Isaac Smith, fellow member, was someone who I kept going back to his videos. I thought that looks really cool. I should really give this engine a try, especially when I was building 6 wide. But yeah, I would definitely could say easily that Isaac was the guy to definitely get me inspired to make certain models, and maybe even kind of push me into going 7 wide. I don't know that Isaac ever went 7 wide, but it was because of him that I've been able to build my models the way I have today.
Very nice. Thank you. All right, we're going to end on some very quick news, and I promised it's going to be really quick from Mr. Miller. And then we're going to wrap the podcast up.
Glasgow Central Station is 142 years old today. So let's all sing happy birthday really slowly.
No,
No.
no, it's just not happening.
Nuke him quick.
Oh yeah. Right. Okay. Stop there because Matt's going to have to cut this bit out anyway because I definitely have missed Levi. He was next on the list.
Wow.
Damn you, Miller. Okay, Levi. What's your? Who are your? Start that again. Levi. Who are your most influential Lego train builders?
Well, I think I can easily say Michael Gale because
Oh,
his
yeah.
Fairham layout,
Good pick.
and
Yeah.
I, to be fair, Richard, you know more than most. I speak about him quite a lot. It's just such a high detail, and to such a large scale as well, with so much detail that I spend hours looking at his photos. And then the other person is Stuart Jones, I think his name is.
Yes.
With
Yeah.
Friend of the
his
podcast.
working signal box. And
Oh,
that
yeah.
whole layout, that is just blows
Really
me away
cool.
every time I look.
One day he'll be a member. One day he'll sign up. Until then, he's not allowed back on the podcast. That's definitely a rule. No, Stuart stuff is really nice, and the work, the attention to detail he pays with the signal boxes and how everything works is really nice. Okay, have I missed anybody?
I have some railway news.
Go on then.
Glasgow Central Station turns 142 years old today. Happy birthday!
We're not doing the song. It's just
No,
not
it's
happening.
copyrighted and we'd have to pay fees.
Oh yeah, well, Matt'd have to pay fees for publishing it, probably.
All right, well let's begin then.
Right, no, we're definitely
Sorry
wrapping up
about
there
the
because
extra editing, Matt.
this has gone on long enough. So thank you very much for listening to episode 17 of the LNUR Line podcast for Lego Train fans. This has been all about what our members have been up to and what have been designing and building during lockdown. We'll be back with another podcast very soon, hopefully, but you can follow us on YouTube and Instagram, Facebook and Twitter. If you just search LNUR, just 4 letters, LNUR, we're on there somewhere, hopefully, and we'll see you all soon. Thanks for listening.
Toodaloo.
Bye.
Look at him enjoying his Twinkie. How sad.
Enjoying. He
We
looks
should
like
just
he's
start the
enjoying
recording
it.
now whilst he's doing that.
Yeah, Matt will probably.
Slightly pleasantry.
That might be a nice outro. It's just Miller. You can watch Miller eating a Twinkie.
I mean, we
Oh,
have footage of
no.
it now because we started the recording.